Hi everyone, and welcome to Tap Into Your Creativity. I'm super excited. We have an incredible artist joining us today. Her name is Catherine Rines, and she will be joining us soon, hopefully, and she will tell us all about her journey and her life story, which is fascinating. So, Catherine, if you're out there, please request to go live with me. And so bear with me for a minute. I'm hoping that she will join us any minute. We're having a wonderful time meeting with Catherine and talking to her and getting to know her. I hope you will enjoy her as much as I have. She's a very special lady, and her artwork is so great. And she is here, so let's bring her in. There we go. It's any minute now, and you're gonna hear about all of. There she is.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here, Catherine. Thank you so much for being a part of Tap Into Your Creativity and my army of artists. I have been a big fan of your work. I've been following you, and I've gotten to know you a little bit, and it's been just a great joy to get to know you and your story. And I'm so excited for everyone to hear what you are as a person and as an artist. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. I just want you to know that, what you're doing, Sandra, is so incredibly impressive. I would never even have thought of this, to bring artists together for such an amazing cause. And your interviews are amazing. I mean, I've listened to many of them, so I've gotten a lot from them. So you're serving so many people at the same time. So thank you for what you're doing. It's quite a gift. You're giving a lot of people.
Thank you so much. It's been quite the journey, I have to say, and I've met incredible people like yourself throughout the world, and it's just an incredible community of artists that we have. And I have found that everyone is so willing to open their studio doors and share their inspiration and love for what they do with others, and it's just been a joy. It really has been incredible.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell
Yes.
the love you put into it.
Yes. So, Catherine, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you? And tell us a little bit about your childhood, and let's go from the beginning, I guess.
Sure. So currently I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, it's a suburb of Charlotte, Belmont, North Carolina. It's beautiful here. And I've been here for 30 years. My art story actually starts out as a non-art story. I didn't ever intend to be an artist. That was not it was never on my radar, because to me, you can't be an artist unless you can draw. I couldn't draw. I can draw a little bit now, but I couldn't draw when I was a young person. Ironically, though, my parents could. Both my mother and father were talented hobby artists. They could draw, paint, sculpt, write. They were very, very good. But when I was growing up, whenever there was anything that needed to be done creatively, like write a story, make a mountain, things you have to do for school, my father would let me start, and then he would take it over, redo it, and I would turn in his work. So I basically thought I had no talent in terms of art. And so when I was thinking of what I wanted to do for a career, I thought of what the natural thing, what was I good at? And what I was good at, I was a great counselor and a great teacher, because that's what I kind of been groomed to do through my childhood. I had a very tumultuous childhood. My mother was schizophrenic. So my role had always been to help other people. So it was natural. I was going to go into some kind of helping career. So I set myself up that way. I got a master's in counseling. And my long-term career goal was to be a career development director at a major college, like the University of Minnesota, Duke University, one of the majors. And I was well on my way. I was in my young 30s, and you have to make 4 hops to get to where I wanted to go. I was in my second hop. I had moved from New York to where I live now to take a second level job. And I was good at what I did. I was being rewarded for it. And I hated it. But no one knew that. So underneath, I was just like stressed beyond belief. And the reason I was stressed, it wasn't the work. I hated managing people. It just is not my thing. I do not want to be, I do not want to tell people what to do.
I hear you. Yeah.
So, but I was doing it for a long time and I was good at it. It took a lot of energy. So here I am, a career counselor by trade, and I hated my job, which I thought was kind of ironic. So I started doing career counseling on myself. And a classic exercise you do with students or clients is you have them write a long list of things they loved to do as a kid without being told to do it. So I wrote this long list. You know, it had Barbies and kick the can and build forts. And in the middle of the list was the word collage. And I had made one collage. This is actually a picture of me as a 10-year-old. This is the collage I made.
Oh my
Ironically,
goodness.
I kept this picture. Don't ask me why. And it's
what?
the only,
That's crazy.
it's the only collage I ever made that I know of. And I thought, you know what? I'm desperate. You know, I'm not looking for a new career. I have no idea what I want to do, but I have to just follow the joy, right? I have to follow what sounds good. So who can't collage, right? Anybody can rip up paper. So one Sunday afternoon, I got all these catalogs together and ripped up paper and I made a collage, first one since I was 10. And I had a freaking blast. I loved it. And so I started doing it every day. You know, and then I had piles and piles and piles of these pretty juvenile looking collages. They were pretty bad. And this lasted for about 3 years. And over time, I got a little braver with, you know, showing people what I was doing. So I framed a whole pile of them and I put them all over my office wall at
How old are you at this point?
33.
Okay.
Or maybe 30, you know, I'm close to that.
Okay.
So I framed them and put them all over my office wall. And my students and my colleagues would come in my office and they'd go, "Oh, you have kids." I don't have children. And don't ask me why that didn't bother me. You know, to me, this was my soul being displayed on the wall. And I loved them, even though they were juvenile. So this just kept going. I wasn't thinking this was a career by any means. You know, this was just something that was giving me joy. So at some point I actually transitioned away from a college job and I got a corporate job doing something similar. I worked for the Myers-Briggs company, which is an assessment tool. And I was doing something similar, but I was traveling all around the country, training people on their assessments for career, basically. And I found along my travels, I found a teacher who was teaching magazine collage. And he was making a living in galleries in Santa Fe using only magazines as his medium. And that's what I was doing. So I took a 5-day workshop, first class I'd ever taken ever, no art classes. And in 5 days time, I went from very juvenile to not bad. I made quite a jump there. And so I made this new collage and I Xeroxed it and I sent it to a friend in California. And she framed it and put it on her office wall. And a client of hers came in and wanted to buy it. So in that instant, my whole life changed. And I decided, oh, wow. I mean, I loved the Myers-Briggs thing.
Ooh, okay.
So I spent the next 4 years traveling the country for this corporate job, while I researched how people make a living as an artist. You know, I was going to be a thriving artist, not a starving artist. So I went to every gallery opening. I talked to every artist.
What did you do?
Well, I was trying to find out where you actually market your art. Like, how do you actually, where do people, you know, who are just coming up the ranks, where do they market? And, you know, I researched all the logical things at the time, which was, you know, the internet existed then, you know, so like, how do you do it on the internet? How do you do wholesale, retail? And, you know, could I get into a gallery? Could I do, you know, really high-end art festivals? And I ended up doing all of those things. So after a 4-year period of, you know, working the corporate job, I quit my job. I was 40 years old at this point. And I said, you know, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it? You know, and I wasn't really ready. Like, I didn't have a portfolio because I had been traveling so much. I didn't have enough art to really show anybody. So the first year I just focused on getting a portfolio, you know, so I just made, and I made very different art than I do now. I was making 3D, more realistic collage. I don't know, it's like, it's just, it looked like paintings is what I was doing, but it was all magazines. So I always say those 4 years as a full-time artist were the absolute best years of my life. And
Well, I
absolutely,
would think that it was because, I mean, you only had limited time to really focus those 4 years on to start the second career when you're 40 years old now. And that's a big jump. And it's a lot of getting out of your comfort zone. And I always talk about this, getting out of your comfort zone. It can be the best thing that you can do in your life. It is one of the bigger gifts that you can give to yourself. Putting yourself out there and learning something new, like you put yourself out there, you went to this workshop for 5 days, you didn't know what you were going to expect, but that changed your life in a good way, you know?
it did. So, I used to say, so, I mean, I've been a full-time artist twice now. So that was my first time. And I used to say that, Monday mornings were my favorite day of the week because I got to get up and do art. I mean, who gets to do that? It was incredible. But it was also the worst time in my life, ironically, because I was solely dependent on the art to make a living. I was married, so we were, commingling our finances, but I had to contribute. I wasn't at the point where I was just going to let's see where this goes.
Right,
If I couldn't so-called make it, I was going back to work. So I
right.
felt a big threat that I had to make a significant amount of money in a really short amount of time. So it was over the top stressful, to the point
Mm.
where I felt like I couldn't go to the bathroom at times. Like I didn't have time or I couldn't breathe, And so it was kind of this strange thing, of loving it and also like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. And I was making money. It wasn't like I wasn't, I was at the threshold of so-called making it when the second chapter happened, which was I was 44 years old, 4 years into full-time art, loving, I wasn't ever going to stop this. I get a mammogram and I get diagnosed with breast cancer at 44 and was a total shock because my family, we don't have breast cancer. There's nobody. And I'm healthy, I'm incredibly active. I take vitamins, I eat well, blah, blah, blah. So no, I had no expectation that would happen. And so even though it was a shock, it changed the whole trajectory of my life in a second. So from being a full-time artist, um, ironically, I went back to work. I didn't, it wasn't a
You
bad
did?
thing. I did.
You went back to work.
I
Wow.
did. It's a longer story, but they offer my old company, the same company, offered me kind of like I couldn't resist it. It was a job where I would be on the road 45 weeks a year, going to colleges, teaching them. And it was a dream job, a lot of money. So I said, I didn't tell them this, but I said, I'll do it for 1 year. I'll take their money and I'll just, and then it would be like a cushion so I wouldn't be so stressed on the art side. I'd have extra money. So I did it for a year. It was great fun. I'm traveling around the, country on an expense account. Second year, they offered me a better gig. I said, okay, 2 years, I'm good. Third year, same thing happened. And then we're at 10 years. 10 years in, and I'm doing almost no art. And I'm like, this sucks, basically. I love the work. And I eventually became what is known as a certification trainer for them. So I'm training
I'm
trainers.
guessing that at this time you're healthy, you're back to your
Yeah.
health, and you went through it all,
Oh
and
yeah. Well,
you
yeah,
got
actually
yourself
the second
healthy.
part of that, I forgot. Thank you for saying something. Yes, I'm very healthy. I
Okay.
got through it fine. But the breast cancer actually prompted a divorce. So I was married to my high school sweetheart. We've been together 31 years at that point. And it was just basically midlife crisis
Wow.
on his end, not mine. But it was the best thing that could have happened. But because I went back to work when he wanted a divorce, I'm set. Because before I was on his health insurance. Now I was completely independent. So all these years that I'm, working with him at my day gig again, I actually need to because, if you can make a certain high income, you don't. But I needed health insurance, and I couldn't afford health insurance and the pressure of having to make all my art, my art.
And that is something that a lot of artists now have to figure that out. you know, they need to figure that balance. How do I get
Mhm.
my health insurance? How do I get a career going in art? So I'm curious how you've managed to do both.
Well, it's interesting. It's a 10-year mark. I'm traveling all around the country. Love the job, I really do, but I'm not doing art, and it's a real. I'm grieving. Like I've given up my life's love because I want to support myself, but I've given up my love. So what I did, this was 2015. I sat myself
Okay.
down January 1, and I said, you got to get, something's got to give here, girl. So I made this outrageous plan to bring art back into my life without giving up a job. So here's the plan. So when I was on the road, I would travel with two 50-pound suitcases. Now my suitcases were free because I traveled so much. So one 50-pound suitcase was just art supplies. So
Oh my gosh.
at some point in the journey, I actually started adding paint to my collage, which is what I do now. So I brought about 20 pounds of paint. I brought canvas, drop cloths, paint brushes, anything you need to turn any size hotel room into a studio. So I would work all day, and then the deal was is that I had to be in my hotel room creating art by 7 p.m., and I would create until 11 p.m. every night.
I love that.
And
When was
then when
this? 2015?
2015 is when it started. Yeah. I did it for 2, 3 years this way. And
Oh
then when I
my
was
gosh.
when I was home, because I have a home office, when I was home, I had to get up at 5 a.m. I gave myself an hour and a half to do all the things like exercise, whatever you do in the morning. And then by 6:30, I had to be at my studio in my home creating art. And I created for like 2 or 3 hours. And then I would do my day job for the rest of the day until probably 7 p.m. And I did it till 2000, let's say mid 2017. And
Wow.
for many years, I had tried to get my company that I was working for to give me a more relaxed schedule. like, could I work part time? And they never would allow me to do it. They had I had to do, I was part of their team. I had to do what I was doing. But something shifted. The mirror, the clouds opened up and God came through, and they agreed to let me be a contractor starting in 2018. And this is currently what I do now. So I work 5 days a month. I train for them 5 days a month,
Wow.
and now it's by Zoom because I used to travel for them. Now I Zoom for them, and the other 3 weeks of the month I'm a full-time artist, and it is
I'm
completely.
so proud of you. This is
Thank
such
you.
a motivational story. I mean, for people that think that you can't do both, this is an incredible example. You're here in your hotel room at 7 p.m. with your other luggage filled with, you know, your love, your dream, your creativity, and you're creating at the same time. I mean, it is really truly something to look up to. So
Thank you.
congrats and kudos to you, because
Thank you.
that is called determination.
Mm. Well, it's interesting. I still have this. I mean, in fact, next week I work 5 days a week for my old company, and it's actually a lovely balance because I do sell art. I mean, my collections have been selling out, which is lovely, but it takes having a day gig on a really limited basis. It takes the pressure off. Having to do to sell as much or to sell what necessarily is marketable. Because it's hard not to make what you think people are going to want, and I still do that, but I'm
Right.
doing what I love first, and then
So
I'm. Go ahead.
yeah, so tell us how when did you start introducing yourself on Instagram and social media? How did you start integrating your art with social media? Because I know that's a huge part of how you're selling now, and how you put your work out there, and you have a big, huge community on your Instagram. And now more than ever, Instagram is changing again.
Yeah,
And so I'm wondering, what is your take, and take us back when you started and how it worked for you.
it's funny. I actually started on Instagram just about the time this plan started, 2015, and I mean, I didn't know. No one knows what they're doing when they start. I'm just posting, but Instagram has become. I mean, it is the way I sell my art. It is 100% my business. And what I've learned, I mean, the reason it's grown, particularly in the last year, because the last year has been actually the biggest growth, is because I finally got it that if I'm going to treat this as a business, I've got to show up every day. You know, before that, I was doing it kind of spontaneously, like, missed a couple days, I'm fine. Miss a week, we're totally good. But now I find if I miss 3 days, not only do I lose followers, then when I come back, I get much less engagement on the posts I have. So it takes me another week to build the engagement back up. So I made a commitment about a year ago that I was going to be here every single day. Just one post a day. I try to do 5 or 6 stories a day. Doesn't always work, but I try to do that to keep people, to get people to know who I am. Like, you know, what am I about? So, you know, consistency has really been the game. But now with the shift in Instagram, you know, I'm sure you are too, Sandra. You know, I'm teaching myself how to do reels, and stories are a piece of cake. The reels are a whole different thing, you know, because it takes a lot of time, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think we have to keep true to ourselves, and I think the still photo is still amazing, and I'm still going to do my still photos. I believe in them. I think the gallery pages, it was what Instagram was all about. So I think we have to move forward with the reels and videos and stories, but in a way that it's a balanced way. So we don't
Yeah.
lose track of who we are as artists. We don't want to become entertainers. We want to stay true
Good
as
point.
artists. And so at least that's for me. I don't want to become an entertainer with doing all this reels and trying. I will do reels of my artwork, but I'm not going to entertain people. That's not my point. My point is to be an artist.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky, you know, because I don't want to entertain either. And I saw another artist. I can't remember her name. It's Phoebe something. She's in New Zealand, and she does like every tenth post. She does kind of an interesting reel where she shows who she is. Like, she's kind of funny. And her take on it is, I want people to know who I really am. And she's a really funny woman. You know, so the question is, how do you show who you really are on a reel? So I think there's a real
Right.
opportunity to do more than what we've been doing. You know, so
Correct.
I've been doing process pick pieces. Like, this is how I make a collage, which I think are really fun. You know,
Well,
it takes
I
up.
do think that it's important for people to get to know us, because
Mhm.
by knowing us, they know our work. And by knowing our work, they want to buy. So it's like this full circle, right? But someone is asking, what are the changes to Instagram? Reels, other changes? Yes, I mean, Instagram is really trying to focus now on videos and reels. They want to make this, they're putting more of the attention to reels. So they want to kind of compete with TikTok more than
Right.
anything, I would think.
Hmm.
But like I said before, like as long as you stay true to yourself, and I don't know, Catherine, if you have found by posting every day and showing up every day, does that take away from your practice, or are you just finding it that's just part of your job and you're just putting it in your day?
I consider it part of my job. You know Betty Franks, the
Yeah,
artist.
yeah,
Um,
she was part of my army of artists.
Oh, cool. You know, I've
Yeah,
listened to a number of, I've read a lot from her and listened to her
she's
podcast.
incredible. Yeah.
And one of the things I love that she says is that, you know, she spends about 70% of her time on the business of art, 30% selling, or 30% making art. And I just have that in my brain, you know, that my job, in order to sustain what I love, I also have to sell it, you know, and selling it is not just doing, I just can't art, you know, I just can't do the art. So to me, the Instagram actually has become the actually number one way that I find people, you know, that want to join my newsletter. And the people that join my newsletter are the people that buy from me. So I don't, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't, I'm kind of neutral about Instagram. It's just part of my job. It's part
Right.
of, and I love it. I love my job. Therefore, I'm not going to think of it as a pain. You know, it's just, okay, I got to post every day. What are you going to post? What are you going to say? But there's another artist I follow that kind of made it easier for me, because she's actually the one that told me to be consistent. It's like, her name is Morgan Castile, and she said, you just got to post once a day. But the way she figures out what to say is she just says, what's happening in my life right now? And then she just talks about it. And I don't always do that, but I do it a lot. And it just makes it so much easier. You know, I'm not trying to come up with something brilliant to say. I'm just telling people about my life, letting them in.
Yes, yes, exactly. And there's a comment here. People love stills, and that's never going to go away. And
Hey,
so
Tammy.
do what works well for you, and keep doing what is working for you, because that's the most important thing. Be true to yourself, show up and show us who you are, connect with other people, make a community. This is what Instagram has given me. I feel like I
Right.
have found this incredible community of people, and that is what feeds my soul, really.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
So I'm super excited because I'm going to turn off comments right now so we can actually see your face. And you're going to show us around your studio.
I
So
am.
I'm super excited about this. And just one more question before we
Mhm.
do that. How was COVID for you? Were you able to keep yourself inspired? And because I know you have your studio at home,
Mhm.
so that was easy for you because you just went to your studio at home.
Right.
But how was it for you?
Well, I was lucky because I got laid off. Like that was like whoopee. I mean, I love my job, but I got from March until July of last year completely in my studio. So there was no
Oh,
distractions.
wow.
And at the same time, ironically, I'd signed up for CVP, the Creative Visionary Program. So that started in March, right when COVID started. So it was just like this wonderful deep dive. I mean, I hated that other people were suffering and I was donating money like a crazy person. But at the same time, I was completely focused on my art, and it really changed my art completely. You know, from almost being I always from 2018 to current, I was doing a lot of experimenting. You know, like what do I want to do? You know, and I love collage, but maybe I'm a painter. I don't know. Like I never had time to really delve into it. So doing this deep dive with Creative Visionary Program really made me realize I'm a collage artist who likes to add paint to her work. And once I really embraced I'm a collage artist, then it started like, okay, I got it. And so now I am completely focused on one type of collage as opposed to always experimenting. Like I was always going after the next shiny, oh, that'd be fun. Let's take that class. But now I'm like, no. And in fact, one of your artists, like 2 times ago, Ashley maybe, was talking about like I'm
Sally
focusing.
Ann.
Yeah, Sally Ann. She's focusing on painting, and I so related to that. Like I'm focusing on making abstract collage. Now maybe 5 years from now that'll evolve, but right now I'm having a blast because my craft is getting better in one direction as opposed to constantly branching out and getting new skills. I want skills
And
in the
that you just said something so important, because I think that we as creators and creative people are always looking for what's the next best thing, or what is working for others and whatever, and try to do something, maybe something new all the time. And I think that when you find what your voice is and just continue to working on that direction, it gives you clarity.
mm-hmm.
And so it's just a really great path to
Yeah.
follow. So follow that sixth sense of yours.
Yeah, took a long time to get here, but it's funny because it actually started last summer. My husband and I went on a socially isolated beach vacation, and I brought a limited. I'd like my old. I called myself a hotel artist in my old days, so I was like a hotel artist at the beach, and I brought all these art supplies, and I challenged myself to make one collage a day, like, and basically I was taking like maybe I don't know 30 minutes a day to make a collage, and people on Instagram were offering to buy them. And it's like, no. I mean, I'm used to making a collage in like 3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe 3 months. This was in 30 minutes. And I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I mean, I love making collages that are purely from without my,
Intuitive, like
yeah, without my
without
brain.
thinking
Yeah.
intellectually, but
Yeah. So I turn
you're
my brain
using
off.
your, yeah.
Yeah, so the collages I've made since then have all taken 30 minutes. But now they've taken longer, but the foundation happens usually in 10 minutes. And then maybe
Wow.
I'll tweak them over the course of a week. So maybe in total they take an hour, but that's it. And they're better. You know, they're better collages than what I used to make because they're from my soul, as opposed to, will this sell? Am I going to sell this? You know, I'm
Right.
not, that part of me has been turned off. So
Right. Like they say also on CDP and everywhere else, like your first 20 minutes of your artwork are super effective. So use
yeah,
them as much as you can. Those first 20 minutes are just incredible. So, you know, if you can
yeah.
move forward from that, that's awesome. If you
And
can
that's the
stay
fun
in
part.
those,
That's the
right,
fun
that's
part.
the fun part when your
Yeah.
intellect is not, you know, they're making judgments. So,
Right.
um, so, well, okay, so now I guess we're ready to go for a little tour of your studio.
Okay. So let me get my off here. I'll turn this
Okay,
around.
great.
Get my easel down here. Yikes. Okay. So the favorite part of my studio is what you're looking at right here. So this is a rolling, this is a kitchen island that I bought off the internet,
Oh,
and my
wow.
husband attached a board to it. So it's really high up, so I can stand at it. I do my art either standing, or I've got a tall chair here. But everything else in my studio is also rolling. So this little cart right here is all my main supplies. So I'm sitting in my chair and I have everything right here. So I have all my brushes sorted by type, all of my scissors, all of my mark making are all on
Wow.
carousels by color. And they go
Oh, I
down.
love that.
So and this is just a kitchen. Like, I got this at some bath supply store, but I roll it all over my studio. And I also roll my table all over my studio. Then I've
That's
also got,
great.
I know, it's amazing. Then I also have a rolling cart that's full of deli paper. So when I'm actively doing a project, a lot of times this is full of paint, you know, so I'll roll that right next to me. Then if I move around here, this
Do
is
you
my,
prefer deli paper over any other paper for layering collage?
I actually started with deli paper, and I use it a lot, but I actually like tissue paper better, because tissue
That's what I
paper,
was going to say, because tissue
yeah,
paper is
tissue paper
so
just,
good and it comes in different colors and you still can manipulate that.
yeah, I use white, but it dissolves, you know, so where it's deli
Right.
paper, you still can see the edge of it. So this 4-tier cart also rolls. And so I roll it all over, you know, I can, wherever I am, it comes with me, but it also revolves. And people have asked me over and over again, where I got this thing. And I wish I had bought 30 of them because you can't buy them. I bought it at an
You
auto,
cannot?
I bought it in an auto supply store years ago. And I've looked everywhere. I can't find them, but it's like the most
Oh,
convenient thing, because I mean, it's just, it also,
seriously.
it also
Wow.
limits what paint I can buy. Like, I can't put anything else on here until I use some. Um, these things here also roll. So these are all my mixed media papers. Like, they're all like categorized by different things that I use. And these are pretty cool because I can actually pull this whole thing out and put my computer on top. So when I'm taking classes, I will actually put this right next to my table, put my computer on top.
Wow.
So it's very convenient. Um,
And it's
other
so organized too. Like you have
every
everything that you can think of at the touch of your fingertips,
it's
literally.
and you can roll it to your fingertips, which is even cooler.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
so the other thing that's really interesting about my studio is these skylights. My whole studio actually went through a renovation 3 years ago because a tornado hit the roof.
Oh,
And I didn't have these skylights. I used to have carpeting. It was a very, very dark brown studio. But the tornado basically crushed the roof. So I on the insurance dime, I actually renovated my studio. So I had these beautiful
wow.
skylights, and I renovated everything. So these cabinets, I mean, they're so cool. These are from IKEA. So inside, I have also just incredible, everything is organized. You know, all of my favorite thing is right here.
Can
Hold
you
on.
come to my studio and organize mine?
Oh, sure. No problem. So, like, I'm into, you know, varnishes and matte mediums and gloss mediums, but this used to be a wreck. You know, I'd have just carts and everything was just flowing over with all this stuff. But now it's in these are all
Wow.
IKEA boxes, by the way. But my neatest thing Well, actually,
Amazing.
I don't use a lot of stencils, but stencils I think are hard to organize. But I saw another artist do this. This is a letter carrier or a letter organizer for your desk. And this is just like made it like amazing. Like I always have what I want. I don't have to like go through piles of them. But my favorite thing, my favorite thing at the moment is these, if I can get a long shot of it. This is my new filing system. Now, by the way, behind me, I've got a whole huge lateral file full of collage material. But what I decided was it was overwhelming. So what I did was I chose a color palette. And my color palette is yellow, orange, red, ivory, black, and teal. And I got lots of colors, lots of papers in there. And I decided I was going to separate all of these by type. So I've got a lot of tissues. These are all hand painted tissue. But then I've got them separated by value. Oh, wow. So this is light value, medium value, dark value. The same thing is for yellow, for orange, red, coral, ivory. Then I've got my whites, blacks, golds, vintage, maps, numbers, objects. I mean, everything. So when I'm making a collage and I think, oh my God, I need something dark.
You make it so easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just go to the file. And so it took me like several days to set this up. But once I did, my collages go much faster as a result. So,
wow.
So that's the basics. So here's an aerial view. I have one table that doesn't roll, by the way. This is also a height, you know, it's high. So I can, this is actually my current collection that I just finished. So this is what is just about to come out. But this way I can always have everything really close to me. So I've got a sink. Across the way there is where I actually do my business. You and I found out I actually can't sit there and do this interview because my internet won't connect us. And then I have, you know, everything is, that's right. Everything is, you know, shelved basically in IKEA, you know, IKEA. I need to have IKEA, you know, as an affiliate. I don't think they do that though. So that's it.
They don't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, tell us about your process. Can you show us a little bit about how you create a collage and what goes through your mind while doing that?
Yes, I can. So the way I do it, I mean, it's changed a lot just this last year. And when I decided that I was going to basically do collage with a really limited color palette, I thought before I had to have like 25 colors, and which is why I have a ton of paint. But when I started like really limiting it to a really limited palette, and I've done the same palette since last summer, and I'm going to keep with this palette until I'm just bored to tears with it, because there is just so much I can do with just a very limited number of colors. I'm going to turn this around and show you. So like I wanted to create a couple collages, actually demo one for you. So I chose collage.
I'm super excited.
I chose collage papers out of the files I just showed you. So I've got light papers, I've got some black and whites, a little bit darker teal, very dark teal. I love putting some kind of word or letters in it. I love writing in it, more writing. Those are mark making.
Is that your writing? Do you do writing?
Actually,
or do you find it?
It's both. This is actually a letter my father wrote to me when I was 40 years old, and I have Xeroxed it to death. And I have turned it into collage material. But like this is tissue that's, you know, that's transparent. This is stamps that I've, you know, made into my own kind of paper. I mean, this is awesome. This came right from a book. So I'm fine with using other kinds of writing. It really depends on what it looks like in the collage. So I start by just laying out a variety of values. Okay. And if you want, I can show you a collage that I quickly put together yesterday.
Yes, please.
So hold on, let me put this, see how good I can do at making this work on a table. Okay, see if this works.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see
see you perfectly. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to, there you go, right there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, by the way, just for all honesty, I actually came up with this collage yesterday. But what I do is I have a little timer here. I put the timer on for 10 minutes. And having a timer basically turns my brain off. And I go, okay, go. And then I just start rummaging through the very limited papers you saw, and I start like tearing them and looking for contrasts. So I will show you exactly what happened yesterday.
So you put 30 minutes on your timer?
10 minutes.
Oh, 10.
Right. So this is exactly how it happened yesterday. So I start looking for contrasts. So, before I show you this. So this collage is one of the collages in my new collection. So I thought it'd be fun to add 2 more to it. So the papers I just showed you are those papers. So I take the same palette without looking at the previous collage, and I just start adding those papers to this little 6x6. And I'm always looking for contrasts. So these are contrasting, these are contrasting, and I want to get a letter in there with that. Now, by the way, I'm going across over the boundary, but all of this will get cut off.
Right. And so value and design.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, value is big. And the whole, Nicholas Wilton talks about differences. That's basically my middle name now. So I'm always looking for, well, is this different than that? Everything has to have a different size, a different color. This flower, by the way, is actually a tissue. So when I paste it down, it'll completely show underneath it. Which
so how did you
you can see with this
into a tissue?
Well, you can actually buy this. Actually, I'll show you. This is this particular one is Tim Holtz. This tissue, but I make them myself as well. So like this
I love that.
This is actually a mailing label transfer. So if you look up mailing label transfers on Google, you can get the exact same effect, which I do that as well. But this was just so easy, using his.
Yeah.
And then I want to break this up a little bit, so I'll put that there. And I want to break the words up, but I'll put that there. So then I'll obviously glue that down. That is just the first draft. But once I get the first draft down, and it did take me 10 minutes to come up with that yesterday, then I'll start adding, circles. So actually, let me show you. So
this is so cool. Oh my gosh.
Like I might, add that to some of the white spaces. I have whole envelopes full of cut circles of all different sizes. And then I've got these really cool, these are things I created with molding paste. And you can actually see this here. So I have a lot of the stencils. I put molding paste on top of it. So you put the
molding paste, you put the dots, a molding paste on top of tissue paper and then let it dry?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, and I have it in different colors. So white's my favorite, but I have it in other colors that would match this color palette. So I have it in blues and yellows. But it really helps to unify things in. And then
for sure.
And then circles are my favorite. And then I always have to have a dash of gold something, at least for the series. So the series I have now has certain consistent elements that I have for all of them.
So then do you glue it directly on the board, or do you glue it on a paper and then glue the paper on the board?
I glue it on, I actually use mixed media. Why is this looking bigger? I use mixed media paper that has been gessoed. And then, it's funny, someone asked me today because I just mounted all of these. Hold on a second, let me get this one. So here's another one I made yesterday. It's not completely done, needs something else. But this is just a mixed media piece of paper. Then I will take this and I will actually mount it to a cradled board. I could collage right directly on the board, but it actually limits my creativity. Once I start doing that, I'm thinking it has to be precious all of a sudden. And the ones I've made directly on the boards, I'm not that crazy about. Whereas if I just make it on paper, it's just paper. and then I end up loving them because I'm not making them precious.
So how do you press them into the board after? Do you put like books or something to put some? Yes.
In fact, I have bags of rice and books. In fact, if you go over here, I got lots and lots of books that are just stacked. In fact, the other day I had a reel where I had this entire table just all of these pieces had like 3 books and a bag of rice on each one of them. And they actually
Oh my gosh.
they sat for 24 hours each.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. I love your process and I love the 10-minute thing. I think that keeps it fresh. It keeps it authentic. It doesn't give you time to really think that much.
Right.
So I love that concept. And so today, Catherine is generous enough to be selling 2 pieces of artwork. And as you guys know, all proceeds will go to Feeding America. We're asking $150 for each one of them. So Catherine, can you show us what we're
Yep. Let me take
what
you
we're
over
selling
here.
today?
Let me
Yes.
take you over to where they live.
Where they live.
They live. So these 2 collages, I'll hold it up. These are encaustic collages that I created. They're kind of the precursor to what I'm doing now. They're 8x8s, and they are collaged and encaustic on all sides. So this one is called Nevertheless She Persisted. It's got gold leaf, so it's quite a bit of handwork on it. And the other one, these actually could be easily a set or separate.
Right.
This is the same thing, 8x8. They're encaustic on all sides, and this one's called A Path Appears. It's interesting because these 2 titles came to me I made these about a year and a half ago, and I never showed them or sold them because I was still in my experiment.
They were meant to be for this cost.
That's right. I never did anything because I never made more of them. I don't sell anything unless it's a series. And so I just held on to them, waiting for you.
Well, I'm gonna turn back on the comments. So if anyone wants to buy them, please either tell me right now or DM me or Catherine. Again, we're asking $150 for each one of them, and 100% of the proceeds will go to Feeding America. Can't stress enough how much food is needed in this country right now. And if we can do anything to help, is this: you would buy a piece of artwork that is amazing, and at the same time, you will be helping people that are in real need. So please, if you're considering to help today, please consider buying this incredible pieces from Catherine, and hopefully we'll be selling them today. So anything that you want to tell us about that particular process of using encaustic and why you're not using that anymore at this moment?
That's a good question. Well, when I was learning how to do it, I was totally entranced with it. I made quite a few encaustic pieces, but they weren't in a series. I was experimenting. And I realized encaustic is just one more step that I didn't need to do. That although I love the effect of it, I could just as easily not do it and have a beautiful collage. So that's why I never continued with them. They were part of my experience. In fact, I always say that I have so much experimental art from, basically 3 years of trying to figure out my voice and where I really wanted to work and basically what gave me joy. Because I don't want to do art that doesn't light me up.
Thank you. We just sold one to Catherine Bosk. So Catherine, please DM me with your information, and I will let you know what you have to do. So thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Yeah, so make sure you DM me so I have your information. You can go ahead and do that now. We still have one more to sell, but
cool.
Thank you. We just gave 1,500 meals. So
that's amazing.
Really incredible. So thank you. So so Catherine, so you were saying, so you found what does it say? Why do people title themselves intuitive? Aren't artists all working intuitively? Yes, we totally are. But you want to answer that question, Catherine?
Yeah, I don't know. I do call myself an intuitive artist but I could also just call myself a joy artist. To me, what I want to do is only make art that comes from my soul and that gives me joy. And I'm hoping that then the people that are meant to be served by my art will connect with it. So intuitive just may be a buzzword, to say that we're working from something deep within us to follow what is really lights us up. You know, Nicholas Wilton talks a lot about that in CVP, but that's how I've always worked. You know, I follow what lights me up, which is why I went through so many different forms of collage before I realized, oh, this is what lights me up. You know,
Exactly.
you know, it's not like I don't like encaustic. I love it. It just, it takes a lot of time. Whereas I don't really want to take things. I don't want to do things that take a lot of time anymore. I want to have fun, and fun to me is fast. That's really fun.
Right. And I think that's what you mean by intuitive, because it's like, it's not, you're not thinking. It's not like a title necessarily. It's just the way the way it's working. That's just organically the word that we would use, but it's not that you are considered an intuitive.
Exactly.
Artist.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm not psychic. You know, I'm just following what feels good, basically. What gives me joy.
Exactly. So if anyone has questions for Catherine regarding her process, her materials, what are your favorite materials, would you say?
Well, I use acrylic. Magazines. I still rip so many magazines and books. Mixed media paper. You know, anything with circles, really. You know, I'm really into shapes. So I save a lot of things that have circle shapes, although I end up using the same circle over and over again. I wanted to tell you a really funny favorite material.
Yes, please do.
Oh, it's right here. It's hand sanitizer. This is like my favorite thing because it basically acts like an eraser tool. So like if I put, and I use it every single day, you know, if I put paint down on one of my collages, a lot of it's just like, oh, does that work good? And then I look at it and go, no, I don't like that. So I just put down hand sanitizer on top of it and I wipe away the acrylic paint like it was never there. So
oh my gosh,
it's an eraser tool. And if the paint is really, that's if I had just like laid the paint down, let's say 20 minutes ago, I can easily just wipe it off with a cotton swab. But if it's been overnight, I just directly put the stuff right on it and soak it for like 5 minutes and the paint comes right off.
A question is, what do you use for gluing?
Matte medium, golden matte, actually Liquidex matte medium. CVP, they talk about, you know, that gloss medium is the bomb, like that's what you're supposed to use. And I did use it because that's what they taught in CVP. But I actually like matte medium better because I can see, one, I can photograph it better. You know, gloss medium actually makes it shiny, so it's hard to photograph. And takes one less step because I'm not going to sell it with gloss medium. I actually sell it flat with a matte. So I just love matte medium, and to me, it holds the color beautifully. Like I'm not getting any kind of cloud.
Right, so. Right. That's exactly right. And one person asked, what do you seal your work with?
A UV varnish, a golden varnish. Usually it's a painted on.
Matte?
Satin.
Satin?
Yeah, it could be matte or satin. You have both. But if it's really mixed media, like if I got a lot of like things that are sticking up, then I'll just spray it. But it's still a UV varnish.
But you photograph it before you put the varnish, correct?
Well, the varnish is
not necessarily.
I'm trying to think. No, yeah, you're right. The varnish comes after. So I because my pieces are really small right now, I actually scan them at a really high resolution, and they look like the real thing. I also photograph larger pieces, but it's so much fun just to scan it because you get like an exact color replication.
Well, you get the texture too. You get everything in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the advantage of going small, although I am aiming for bigger, but the small.
Catherine.
Say it again.
I said yes. I would love to see you go bigger.
It's so hard because I was making bigger. I was making quite large pieces and I was selling them. But when I make these babies, oh my God, it's just so much fun. So, but my next collection, I'm going to like these, most of my collection that's about to come out, they're 6x6, 6x8. My next collection, I'm going to go wild and go 8x8, maybe 10x10.
So
So,
when is your new collection coming out?
well, that's a good question. It was going to come out in 2 weeks, but I've had some health issues in the last week, which I've posted on Instagram.
I
Um,
saw.
so I'm just delayed a little bit. The collection's completely done. It's now an issue of, when you launch a collection, it takes all these steps to get it there. I got to load it on my website and it's not loaded. So probably the first week in August is when it's realistically gonna happen. But it's there.
So
It's called,
stay tuned, and I'm
that's
sure
right.
Catherine is going to let us know when it's coming. So stay tuned, and tell us your website where we can find you, other than Instagram.
Yeah, it's CatherineRains.com and
Okay,
just catrains.artist on Instagram. And
perfect.
for people that are who are not part of my newsletter community, I give new people to my community my favorite art resources. So I have a list of 33 art resources that I can't live without. Just so happens this is on my list. I love this stuff. And then I also give a collector discount for people when my collection does launch. My newsletter people get 3-hour first dibs, and they usually buy most of them before it opens up. So if you like what I put out there, you might want to be on my newsletter list. I would love to have you.
Well, thanks, Jane. Thank you, Catherine, so much. This has been such a joy, and we still have one more piece to sell today. So either DM me or Catherine, and let's just get these puppies out there. And I'm so excited for your new collection to come out, and I just wish you health, good health, and lots of success in this incredible collection. It's great. I just I love you and your spirit, and you're such an inspiration. So thank you for joining us today.
And Sandra, I say the same thing to you. Thank you for the incredible work you are doing in the world. I honor you, I bless you, and I am very grateful to be part of your project and your army of artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Saturday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.